everybody, and welcome to another episode of Echo Live. We have a very exciting program planned for you all today. We are going to be talking all about the year 2020, this STEM year in review. This is our very last episode of Echo Live for the year 2020. And as always, we're going to thank Ford and Denso for providing these programs for everyone who's tuning in from home, from school, from anywhere else, for all of our episodes of Echo Live. It's because of Ford and Denso we've been able to bring you these programs all year. And don't worry, we are not going to stop now. We've got lots more episodes of Echo Live planned. Hi to everyone who's already doing exactly what we do at the start of all of our Echo Live programs. Hello to everyone who's introducing themselves in the chat. So a couple of friends saying that they'd love to come visit us at the Science Center, please do. Hello to Evan from Texas. So good to see you tuning in. I hope you're having a good holiday break from school. It's been so nice to see you tuning in for Echo Live now that school's back in session. If you haven't done so already, you can go ahead and you can introduce yourself in the chat too. I'll be asking a few questions throughout our program today. And of course, I'd love if you ask questions as well. Hello to our friends Wes and Luke from Minnesota. Hello, Jasmine. Hi, everyone. I know, last episode. So use that chat feature throughout the show. I've got lots of cool stuff to share with you, lots of fun stuff to talk about. And we're going to start by talking about some of my favorite developments that have happened in the world of science this year alone. Just this year, it's been amazing. We've made a lot of progress, and we'll start by talking about my favorite science topic, which if you've been tuning into Echo Live for a little while now, you know that my favorite branch of science is biology. Biology is the study of life. It's what I studied in college and got my degree in, and I think life is really, really fascinating. Now, fun fact of the year is that we have actually classified and named over 503 new species this year. Just from January 1st, 2020 until now, scientists all over the world have identified 503 new species. Now, not all of these species are animals. Not all of these are alive. But if you know me, you know that I also really love the study of minerals. And so among those 503 new species, there have been 10 new minerals discovered and named this year. This one is called Kernowite, and it was discovered in the UK. This is a stone that's on display at the Natural History Museum in London. And Kernowite is actually the Cornish name for Cornwall. And Cornwall is actually the region where this new mineral was discovered. It's a beautiful green color, my absolute favorite color, which you can probably tell by my background here. And so over the year, we've discovered 10 new minerals. We've also discovered 122 new fossil species, 12 new species of reptiles and amphibians, one of those being the alligator lizard species of Abronia morenica. And that's written here in our scientific notation, capital first word, lowercase second word, always in italics. And we won't get too into phylogeny right now. We could do a whole nother episode of phylogeny and how we name and classify and group species of animals. But this species of alligator lizard was discovered and named this year. There's also been 170 new beetle species, which makes sense because insects are actually the largest group of animals here on Earth, and beetles make up about 40% of the insects here on Earth. So there's a lot of beetles. There's been 70 new species of bees and wasps, 51 species of snails, 9 species of moths, 9 species of flatworms, 6 new centipedes. Ugh. As much as I love bugs, centipedes are just not my favorite. And 1 new species of butterfly, which was discovered in the Philippines. Its name is Appias phoebe, which I think is a very beautiful name for a very beautiful subspecies of butterfly. Now, this brings me to a very interesting question for you all tuning in out there, is we've identified 503 new species this year alone. So how many species are on Earth? What do you think? Does anyone have a guess? Does anyone want to put a number out there about how many species do you think are on Earth right now? Or you could throw out a guess for how many species have there ever been on Earth. That would obviously be a much larger number because I can already think of a few species like dinosaurs, or ancient animals that have since gone extinct, things like mastodons or mammoths. Ooh, some guesses starting to come in, and I'm glad that these are big numbers because we said 503 new species this year alone. Let's see, Max said 50,000 species. Wes and Luke think 300,000 species. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 300 million species. Kelly thinks 1 million. Evan says 8 million. That's a lot. Now, I don't want to disappoint you all, but I hope that this answer is actually a little bit encouraging, is we don't know. We have no idea at all how many species there are on Earth right now, let alone how many have there ever been. Scientists have done a lot of work, though, to figure out just how many they think are here on Earth right at this given moment. But their answers are very widely varied. Some people think there's about 5.3 million species. Other people think that there is over 1 trillion species. Now, those are both really big numbers, right? 5.3 million to 1 trillion, that's a lot. But that'd be like the difference between me saying that you either have $5.30 in your wallet right now, or you have $1 million in your pocket right now. So that's a big difference, right? But scientists, like we said, are constantly innovating. They're always trying to find ways to answer these really tough questions. One of those scientists who worked on that very question, his name was Terry Erwin, and Terry Erwin was an entomologist. Unfortunately, Terry Erwin passed away this year in May, but he made many, many contributions to the world of biology. Now, if Terry Erwin was an entomologist, what do you think Terry Erwin studied? What do you think entomologists study? Now, we said biology is the study of life, bio meaning life, ology meaning study of. So what do you think an entomologist or entomology, what do they study? Take a guess for me. We said Terry Erwin actually set out to answer the same question that I just asked all of you, which is how many species are there on Earth? Now, if you said entomologists study insects like Evan did, you are absolutely right. Entomologists study insects, or sometimes we'll generally call it bugs. But Terry Erwin did this very famous study back in 1974, and there's actually a picture of him performing this study right here, is that Terry Erwin would actually fog trees. And then underneath the trees, he dropped a sheet. And so all of the bugs that fell out of these trees after the fogging, he could collect them on that sheet, and then he could count and classify them. And Terry Erwin did this in the rainforest, which is one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. And what he did by doing this is he took math, another great part of STEM, and he used it to scale up. So he counted how many species he found in one tree. But if then we take that and we multiply it by the biodiversity in a region or around the world, Terry Erwin decided by his math that there was at least 30 million living species here on Earth right at the moment that he did this study. Before that, people estimated that there was about 1.5 million. And so this was a much better example of how many living species are actually on Earth right now. So scientists are still working on this question. And if you are really interested in biology, or if you are really interested in naming something in science, don't give up, because scientists discover new species all the time. All right. Now, we can also talk about chemistry, which I would argue we talk about the most here on Echo Live. Even though biology is my favorite, chemistry is another very important branch of science. It really explains a lot of what is going on in chemistry. And every year, Nobel, or the Nobel Association, gives out a Nobel Prize for chemistry. This year, 2 women won the Nobel Prize for chemistry. Their names are Emmanuelle Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna. Now, they won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for actually engineering a technology called CRISPR. And CRISPR is really important, and it actually ties back to biology. You'll see the through line here. But they actually created a technology called CRISPR, which allows us to edit the genome of living things. So they can actually take DNA or strands of DNA, that genetic code, and they can make single gene edits. And this sounds really interesting, and it is, because this could allow us to edit out disease from the human genome or from the genome of plants and animals. We could eliminate diseases. We could also create new parts of plant genomes so that we can grow healthier food or food that is more resistant to drought. So if plants are growing in a part of the world that doesn't get as much water, we can help to engineer plants to grow better over there. And we can also eliminate pathogens as well. So their discovery, this invention of this CRISPR technology, is going to change the world, not just this year, but for every year going forward in science from now on. Now, these are two very powerful STEMistas, we might like to call them here at the Michigan Science Center. And if you are interested in pursuing a STEM career and you are looking for role models or people who are in STEM that you could talk to, definitely check out the STEMinista project on Facebook. We can post that link in the chat, and we'll also make sure we tag them in this post. But if you are looking to get into STEM and want to talk to STEM professionals, people who are really in the world of STEM doing the work right now and want to learn about their jobs, the STEMinista project is a great way to get to meet some of these role models and get to interact with some of those people as well. Now, we said that CRISPR is allowing us to edit genomes. And there's been another very interesting development in terms of creating something that's going to have a purpose here on Earth. Now, scientists also in April developed a new super enzyme that is able to degrade plastics. Now, if you think back to Echo Live episode 27, if you've been watching for that long, don't worry, I won't make you remember which episode that was. But episode 27 was our Earth Day episode of Echo Live. And on that episode, we talked about plastic waste being one of the biggest components of waste that humans generate here on Earth. We throw out a lot of plastic. And especially since COVID-19, humans started generating more and more and more waste from all of these single-use plastics. Now, it's good that we use them because they are here to keep us safe until we come up with other ways to protect ourselves from the spread of disease. But at the same time, we need to be conscious about how much plastic we throw into the landfills, because not all of that plastic ends up in the landfills, right? We know that plastic can also end up places like the oceans, and people are finding plastics more and more in the guts of the food that we eat, like fish and cows. And so plastic ends up all over. Now, scientists have been trying to solve this problem for a long time, not just this year. So scientists have been working to generate these enzymes or bacteria that will actually eat plastic as food, because people can't eat plastic as food, but these other things we can engineer to do that. But this year was really special because all of our solutions that we've come up with so far, they need really, really extreme temperatures in order to work. So in past iterations of these enzymes, the enzymes had to be over 70 degrees Celsius, which is incredibly hot, way too hot for our planet to get up to that temperature. Otherwise, people would probably not be able to live here. And then that really wouldn't solve our issue at all. But these plastics work at, or these enzymes degrade plastic at room temperature. So these scientists who are working on these enzymes, they predict that we could have these in use at our landfills by the year 2024, which is really not that far away, which is really, really promising. Now, there's a pretty cool video which explains kind of how this enzyme was created and what their goals are for it. So I'm going to play you this very quick video here, and then we'll head back in just a moment to talk about some more interesting science news this year.
We actually thought we were making the enzyme slower by changing a few amino acids, but actually we've made it faster. We've made an improved version of the enzyme better than the natural one already. That's really exciting because that means that there's potential to optimize this enzyme even further. At the moment, plastic isn't really recycled. It either ends up in landfill or it's burned. If it's burned, then it generates CO2, and then you need to make more plastic by digging up more oil. This system would allow you to recycle plastic back again properly, 100% recycle, 100% sustainable.
So that's pretty cool, right? Not only are we now solving the problem of recycling, which we also talked about in our Earth Day episode, we talked about composting in our Environmental Impact Day episode. So if you haven't watched those, definitely go back and check them out. But we'll be solving this problem, right? We'll be eliminating waste and putting it right back into the earth, which is great, right? That's exactly what we want. Now, we've talked a lot about news and science innovation that's happening here on our planet, but this has also been a really exciting year in space science. Now, if you would have asked me last year, I would have said that 2019 was going to be the year of space because it was the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing. It had all sorts of fun events here on Earth that we could celebrate the landing with, but this year has proved to be pretty amazing too. In 2020, we've launched new spacecraft carrying people up to the International Space Station. We've launched spacecraft that are headed for Mars that should actually be reaching Mars in the next couple months. So tune back into Echo Live over the next couple months. We can talk about what happens when they land. But there's also just been some generally really rare and really fascinating events that have happened in the world of space science as well. One of those happened on December 14th, so not too long ago at all. On December 14th, you might remember that we hosted an episode just after this because there was a total solar eclipse that was visible from South America. This is a real photo that was taken on December 14th when the moon passed in front of the sun, blocking out the sun's light and giving us this very beautiful sight. Now, Paulette told us all about solar eclipses on episode 109 and that they actually happen quite often, but it's pretty rare that we actually get to see one from where we live here in the United States or where I live, especially here in Michigan. Now, if you don't live in Michigan, you'll have to check out a calendar to find out when the next total solar eclipse will be visible where you live, but the next one that will be visible from the US will be in the year 2024, just about that time when our plastic-eating enzymes are going to pop up in our landfills. We will also experience a total solar eclipse here in North America. Now, Detroit, Michigan, where I am standing right now, will be at 99% totality. Paulette told us all about that the other week. So it won't quite be safe to look at the solar eclipse during totality from right here in Detroit, but if you drive just a bit south of us down to Ohio, you'll get a very awesome view of it as well. And it'll be visible all across the US, so definitely look up and see if you can find a pattern that tells you about the path of totality where you live and figure out where the closest place is that you can drive to one. On December 21st, there was an even more rare occurrence that happened. The conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn happened on the exact same day as our winter solstice, our first day of winter. On December 21st, it was actually the shortest day of the year, so we experienced the least sunlight that we were going to experience all year in the year 2020, but that made for a great view of what some people called the Christmas star. If you look down here, this is a view of that program that we love to do during our virtual planetarium episodes. This is a snapshot that we took in Stellarium. And you can see that Jupiter and Saturn were so close in the sky that they looked like a singular, really, really bright star. This photo over here is an actual photograph. So this is not Stellarium. This is an actual photograph that was taken by our good friend Raul. You probably remember Raul from some of our previous episodes of Echo Live. He took his telescope outside the night before the conjunction because he knew it was going to be cloudy here in Michigan on the 21st. And he actually snapped this photo. You can see that this is Jupiter way up high, our biggest planet in the solar system. And this is Saturn, which were both visible in the same telescope or binocular field of view. Now, this won't happen again for the next 800 years. So they are still quite close together in the sky. So if you missed it on the day of the conjunction, still go outside tonight and see if you can find this. It's going to be really, really low on the horizon, like we see here in Stellarium, just above the trees. And it's actually out pretty early. So head outside around 5:30 or 6 p.m. when it just gets dark outside and see if you can catch Jupiter and Saturn as they now start to move away from each other in our nighttime sky. But my most favorite piece of space news or space discovery that happened this year, because the solar eclipse, we knew it was coming. I wouldn't necessarily call that a discovery. Jupiter and Saturn in conjunction, while it was very rare and very beautiful, again, not necessarily a discovery, just the path of our planets around the sun. But this right here is probably the most notable piece of space science news. Could there, in fact, be life on the planet Venus? Now, Venus is the second closest planet to our sun, right? And even though it's not the closest planet to the sun, it is definitely by far the hottest planet in our whole solar system. Venus has very, very little atmosphere. So not a lot, it has a great atmosphere. So it traps heat inside. The average temperature on Venus is about 847 degrees Fahrenheit. Incredibly hot, right? Way too hot for the life that we know, us humans, could not live in those sort of temperatures. But on September 14th, scientists observed in the atmosphere of Venus using tools that help us detect what sorts of gases we are seeing. They observed phosphine gas. And here on Earth, we know phosphine gas as evidence of anaerobic microbes, microbes that can live without the presence of oxygen. Now, people have disputed this. They've said, well, there are all sorts of volcanoes and meteors that crash into Venus, but none of those could account for phosphine gas on its own that we know of so far. And so observing this phosphine gas makes us think that there is a potential that there are living microbes somewhere on the planet Venus. And since it's so hot there, this is definitely one of the last places scientists and astronomers had thought to look for life in our solar system. But we're always learning new things. A planet that we had given up on could be our greatest hope for discovering life on other planets nearby. All right, let's see. Now, of course, one of the most notable scientific discoveries or innovations that have taken place this year, scientists are calling Operation Warp Speed, which was to develop and widely produce a coronavirus vaccine. And scientists have been successful. I know that if you had asked me back in March or April of this year if I thought it was possible, I would have said absolutely no way. But this has been a global innovation, right? Scientists have been working on this from all over the world. In less than 1 year, there have been over 3 fully developed, tested, and approved coronavirus vaccines. And people are actually starting to get the first round of vaccines right here where I live. And hopefully, if people aren't having it yet where you live, hopefully it is coming soon. This has been a great development. If you're curious about vaccines and want to know how they work or learn a little bit about some of the myths surrounding vaccines, definitely check out EchoLive episode 105. We talked about the flu vaccine, but a lot of that science will be the same for the coronavirus vaccine as well. And if you have questions about the coronavirus vaccine, if you're curious about whether it is safe or who can get it, you can reach out to us and we can send you some information, or we can help you to get in contact with a local science group or medical professional who can help to give you more information. But if you're interested in getting the vaccine, reach out to your own medical provider. They will have those resources as well, but we are also happy to put you in contact with whoever we might need to. So definitely probably the most important scientific development for humans, at least, has been Operation Warp Speed. Now, this has not been an exhaustive list, right? This is just kind of my few top favorite picks of science that has gone on this year. But scientists are everywhere, and scientists don't have to look like me or like you. Scientists can be anyone. You could be a scientist. You could be that next person who discovers a species and gets to name it. You could help to engineer new crops. You could develop a new technology. You could work on a team who is implementing the vaccine. You can do anything. STEM can help you to do anything. So way to go, science. Way to go to all of you who have tuned in so far this year. It has been by far one of my favorite years, getting to meet all of you guys here on Facebook and YouTube and right here in Zoom as well. These episodes, like we said, have only been possible because of the support of Ford and Denso, and we are going to continue bringing you episodes of Echo Live. Just a couple statistics about Echo Live so far this year, since we're doing a year in review. In just the year 2020, we've had 111 episodes. We've had over 60 hours of science experiments, conversations, discussions, investigations, and discoveries, and over 225,000 views. We are not stopping now, even though this year has been amazing. We want to continue bringing all of you science at home or in school, wherever you are learning from. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in so far this year. I hope I'll see you back here next time. If you have any questions before we head out or before we head out for the year, right, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm going to leave you with just a quick video summarizing some of the most amazing things that have happened here at the Michigan Science Center so far this year. But let me know if you have questions, or feel free to share your favorite science development of the year by letting me know in the chat.
So we've got dry ice. This is carbon dioxide in solid form, and it's sublimating in the water. And we'll have lots of different experiments and activities for the kids to see.
Just immediately go ahead and pop those in your mouth.
Okay.
Chew with your mouth open.
Oh, wow.
And Derek is a dragon.
STEM activator Raul Orozco doing a fire demonstration at the Michigan Science Center.
What we're going to do here is we're going to speed up the oxidation process, and that's why this is going to appear green.
It's just one of the many activities and exhibits, from space to steel, so much to learn.
I learned that you can have a lot of fun here.
With zoos and museums forced to close since the pandemic hit, some places are getting pretty creative while still making it fun for kids at home. For all you junior scientists out there, check this out. The Michigan Science Center has launched interactive demonstrations for kids.
We do these programs every weekday at 2:30 p.m. They are live on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, and families can join in, watch us do some crazy science experiments. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. What's cool about magnesium is when you burn it over a flame, it burns incredibly bright. We've got some pretty simple materials here, and we can make a real functional musical instrument using just popsicle sticks, rubber bands, and some chopped up drinking straws. And so you just hold it up and blow air right through.
Let me try mine. That's pretty cool.
Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're now joined by Christian Greer, who is the president CEO of the Michigan Science Center.
It's been a chaotic year, and it's affected us greatly, from our fundraising to our general operations to how we manage staff.
The Michigan Science Center is reopening for business Friday, July 10th. And thanks to a generous donation, admission is free, won't cost you a thing.
We do have a really fun science activity to show you in a little bit. First, we want to talk about how families are social distancing.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy Ewan from Ford Motor Company, and come see Michigan Science Center's first autonomous vehicle, or AV, self-driving display.
Thanks everyone so much again for an amazing year. It's been so great to meet so many new people, both right here in Michigan, right down the street here in Detroit, and even across the country, like our friends from Minnesota, Texas, North Carolina, and all of those of you who are tuning in the chat today. So thank you all so much for an amazing year. And not to be the world's most dad joke person, but I'll see you all next year. Have a great rest of your holiday season.